DCCs. In any case, by the way, and if I ask you, particular regional commissioners, because you are always dealing with an expansive and huge group of people you are looking at. I mean, Kianda, a drunk chief, how does he help you? Mtu mulevi, na ni chief. Unamtafuta saa mbili asubuhi, he's drunk. Na amevaa uniform yetu. They're embarrassing the service. So have meetings with your DCCs, tell them to go down the way to the structure, and have meetings with these people. One of the things we are going to do when we finish this RRI, Osia, you must give us a report. How many of our officers have been affected and are out of the service? And so on. I don't mind having a conversation with my colleague C.S. Kawe at the Ministry of Health to look at what other possibilities are there to help these officers in terms of rehabilitation and so on. Whether we are going to use capacities at the National Hospital Insurance Fund to help these officers. We will help them and rehabilitate them when they are not our employees. Because we cannot send a drunk to preach to the people of our location what is supposed to happen. Number 5, we must fight compromise. Let me be very honest with you, my brothers and sisters. We are not going to succeed in this thing if we are not fighting compromise. Compromise is where we ourselves or our officers are complicit to the threat that's happening. I don't want to embarrass anyone here. But there are cases where we have followed certain things and you get very frustrated. And you know this. I don't want to go back to these matters. I can remind even my colleagues who are seated on this side.
Well, that is Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i there, meeting members of the security, different members of security agencies, in order to chart the way in regard to the fight against illicit brew and, of course, launching a rapid result initiative there at the school, Kenya School of Government, previously known as Kenya Institute of Administration in Kabete. Well, let's see how it goes. Remember, this is BizCheck, whereby we give you live coverage of events as they happen from different parts of the world, and of course different parts of this country. And of course, as I told you, the big news of the day, we're keeping an eye on the National Treasury, where the economic survey for the year 2020 is expected to be released any time from now. And of course, once that process kicks off, we shall be taking you there so that we can listen in and get to understand what is the status of the Kenyan economy. Forget about what you have heard from politicians and so many people. But the beauty about the economic survey is that it gives you real data. And you know what? Figures do not lie. That's what we say in business. But before we get there, time now to focus on our conversation this morning. You see what? I mean, since 2020, when, COVID-19 struck the world, there has been tremendous disruptions in all spheres of human life. From human resource to the way we interact, to the way we eat, it has been a total disruption. But one thing is for sure, the nature of work as we used to know it is now completely different and different forever. People are working from home, people are working remotely, and that is likely to be the new normal, as we say. And so this morning we want to upgrade our conversation and see how exactly has this catastrophe in the name of COVID-19 changed human resource management. Helping us to put this into the right perspective is the Executive Director at the Institute of Human Resource Management, that is Kuresha Abdullahi. She's on the set this morning. Thank you very much, Kuresha, for joining us here. You see, most of the policies and regulations that currently govern the human resource, not only here in Kenya, but around the world, they were drafted before COVID-19 happened. Then in March last year, COVID happened, and it changed the management of human resource as we previously knew it. Has this, of course, impacted the way you as an institute, number one, train your people, and number two, the way you regulate the industry?
Thank you so much. As you've rightly put, we've been talking about the future of work. Then COVID happened, and we found ourselves right in the middle of the future. So we're talking about the future is now. COVID happened in November 2019, arrived in Kenya, March 2020. And one thing that we've realized is that HR practitioners were considered to be the business partners. We found ourselves to be part of the business. Everyone wanted to pick the mind of the HR professionals, what's next? And the first thing that came to mind was work from home for everyone. Are we ready? What are the policies in place? And depending on the industry you work with, because we were looking at 3 institutions coming together: workplace, school, and family. How that is managed all depended on how quick you are in terms of your creativity and innovation. And it gave birth to different positions within the human resource industry. We started talking about AI, how to ensure that machine and human integration, it's no longer a competition between the two. We looked at data analytics. We even looked at formulation of policies. At the Institute, even how we train changed, because there was this perspective that for you to do any trainings, it has to be in person. But we had to quickly change into online trainings. And the same thing for the workplace. We've seen so much being transacted online, whether the different platforms, Zoom, Teams, WebEx, and all depended on, are we ready in our houses? Because remember, even the internet uptake, because we had to, if you did not have space in your house to convert it into an office, we had to now see how quickly can we do that. And even for some people, the environment they work in may not have been conducive. And then something else comes to play, the mental health of the employee. Because with little help, how we interact, because everyone now was at home, you have little support, especially for the young mothers, and you have to play 3 roles: to be a mother, to be an employee, and to watch assignments, especially for those who are doing homeschooling. So different roles came quickly, and that's when I mentioned about innovation and how quickly can you be creative, and work had to continue. If I talk about recruitment, some companies continued recruiting, but the question was, how do you start onboarding? Because before onboarding happens in an office setup, you're taken round, but now you're working from home and you need to be brought up to speed.
And not just from home, you can even work from, anywhere, city center, Nairobi National Park,
The term you're using right now, it's not even work from home, it's work from anywhere.
Yeah, it's work from anywhere.
And the beauty of all this, and I say every disaster comes with its own disadvantages, that it has made all of us equal. Because we've seen people who are disadvantaged before in terms of coming for interviews, far from Marsabit to Turkana, doing interviews online and getting the positions and still continuing to work. So it's created some level of equality to some level and allowed people to work from different levels.
And I like the fact that, the whole conversation was about, training people for the future. And you've rightly put it, now we are living in that future. So what has changed in terms of regulations?
So in terms of regulations, I will look at this from 2 angles. Because when you're changing a legal framework, especially at country level, then it takes a lot of process. And that's why we have different leaderships. And also in terms of internal policies, what was required and what was done by most companies, which was impressive, is quickly update their internal policies. Because remember, your internal policies are as solid as the legal framework, provided you can defend it within the situation you found yourself. Like work from home, before we had commuter allowance, now we have to talk about internet accessibility allowance. How are you going to convert that, and how are you going to convince me that you're no longer giving me that commuter allowance, but you're going to ensure that there's an office set up at my home? So that now has to be anchored in your policy, because remember, as I mentioned, changing policies and laws within the country takes a lot of process. So the quickest way and the quickest win was updating the internal policies. We had strategic plans, which we're looking at, some of them 5 years. Now for the last 18 months, you had to quickly readjust, and now HR was at the center of it, on seeing now this is what we've planned, it may not be possible. In terms of even training, some companies have even gone steps ahead and doing virtual reality in terms of onboarding. That through virtual reality, it's no longer even online and sitting and talking, it's about virtual reality. Creativity is on another level that we've not seen. Another major role that came up was HR analytics. You know, the HR professional, we knew that data analytics are for the IT. But now we are right middle in it. We have to see how people are performing, work from home, define what needs to be done wherever you are, and how can we work within a team, even though we're spread across. So we have to think about, can we create even the social hour to come together online and discuss issues, and allow everyone to work at their own pace, provided you meet your targets and report to it. And then we have to start using the central boxes, like we have different, like Google Documents box, whichever you are conversant with, to ensure that people spread across can still work on the same project, because they can access, and thankfully internet has made it that possible, even for our training.
What are your thoughts there? Because I'll be coming back, and I really want us to discuss the issues around, how companies have been empowered, to empower their employees, to work remotely, as we are saying these days. But listen here, I mean, the conversation that we are having here, touches on every aspect of human beings, and we are talking about human resource management. And you know what? Each company, or every company that you see, is as good as its human resource capacity. Because every business, every company must be centered around its people in order for it to deliver. But the question is this: how have you been impacted by COVID-19, especially working from home as an employee? You found yourself in the middle of this COVID storm, and now you're being forced to work from home because of social distancing issues. Well, it comes with different challenges, right? In terms of, stable internet, balancing between family, cooking and all this, and working from home. How has this impacted you? At O'Brien Kimani is my Twitter handle, at KBC Channel 1. Kuresha, you have a Twitter handle, right?
Yes, it's Kuresha Abdullahi.
Kuresha Abdullahi. Share with us your thoughts, because it's going to embolden and enrich our conversations this morning, because we are with the experts. Kuresha Abdullahi is the Executive Director at Institute of Human Resource Management. Look, companies, they have various terminologies, to deal with human resource, especially when it comes to management. You talk about right sizing, downsizing, outsizing, and all these. We saw a situation whereby companies went into right-sizing and downsizing mode. People were laid off, and there was serious reorganizations. But we didn't hear, and a lot of people said that the Institute was very quiet when the rights of workers, was somehow conflicted during the COVID-19 crisis. Have you, of course, I mean, it was also a surprise to you, because you did not expect this. This was completely unprecedented. How have you managed to recover, to wake up and say, hey, look here, something was amiss here, but now we need to fix things?
Okay, thank you so much. Actually, the Institute was the first to advise the industry. And the first place that everyone stopped at was at the Institute, in terms of how do we handle these issues. That was
later on. I mean, COVID struck in March.
Yes.
You issued your statement sometimes in August?
On the same, in July.
In July. That was about 4 months later.
4 months later. But we've done a lot behind the scenes during that time. So what happens, unfortunately, different industries are impacted differently. The major hit were tourism, the transport industry. Those are the major ones which were hit. And now when you have to look at the ways and balance, because you have a business to continue and you have a workforce that you need to keep on paying. You have to look you have to balance the two and see what's the way forward for me. So should I close business, or do I start talking about the downsizing and the right sizing, including freezing salaries, stoppage in salaries for some, or even some of them cut in salaries. I saw yesterday in KQ, they still insist on having the salary cut in place because they don't feel they've recovered.
And it's not just KQ,
yeah,
even in very many media houses, many companies, definitely.
And that is a trend, and I'm glad there will be a report which will be out today. It's the unfortunate bit of such pandemics come up with, but this has challenged us to prepare ourselves and look into the future and take some sabbatical leaves and see what could happen, what's next, and how do we move forward. There are some companies we interacted with, companies like Isuzu, where everyone else was talking about the cut in salaries and all that. They came into the innovations and creativity and they have not only maintained their staff, but they managed to give a salary increase because they came right into the industry. They started doing different things differently. So it's all about the leadership and all about what you're providing in the industry. Like for the tourism sector, it's difficult because we rely on international tourists, and that is something that we need to improve at country level. Can we start promoting local tourism, even though that there was a caveat in terms of travels and all that? Because remember, we have to contain this disease, and if we all work together, we will soon come out of this. And the good news is that if you look around, jobs are still being advertised. As of today, I could see more than 10,000 jobs afloat. It's all about how you package yourself and place yourself for those jobs. Yeah.
Look, you're talking about, the economic survey report, which is expected to shed light on the status of the Kenyan job industry, and I mean, it's apparent that millions of jobs were lost in the year 2020, 2021, and so how then do you deal with these massive human resource that was previously working and now they're finding themselves out of workplace?
So it comes down to what we call reskilling and upskilling, because when you're struck by such an incident, you don't just sit back and say, I've lost my job and I'll sit back. You have to get creative around it as an individual. And you will see within the market, as we talk about people losing their jobs, the people who are being headhunted as we speak. So it's all about your brand, whether it's online or even at personal level. How do you brand yourself? And where do you see an opportunity? And those are the skills we're looking for, people who can actually see problems, come up with the solutions, and willing to take the risks for it. And with the right, I think, with the right information, with the right mindset, I strongly believe that yes, there were some jobs affected, close to 14%. That is massive in the different industries, especially those impacted mostly were the youth. But how quickly can we get creativity around it? A major business industry that popped up was the social media. Like, people needed different people to manage their businesses on the social media. So how do you place yourself in terms of the IT skills? Can you go back and upskill or even reskill? So it's an unfortunate incident, but I am sure Kenyans are very creative. And as we talk about some losing their jobs, millionaires were born out of this situation because they saw an opportunity and took advantage.
This is what we say. Yeah. This is the reason why we say that in every dark cloud there is a silver lining. Sure. You see, even in your industry, when you're seated here, I mean, it has also been impacted because of big data and, of course, data analytics, as well as artificial intelligence, whereby now you don't have to have physical number of employees, managing employees' files. This can be done remotely, and it can be done by machines. And this is putting into question the future and the role of future human resource managers, future human resource employees. How are you, as an institute, I mean, retooling your workforce, retooling your profession, you know, and prepare it for the upcoming disruption?
Thank you. I mentioned earlier, yes, we're talking about human-machine integration, and some of the quick trainings and courses we're launching at the institute is master classes on emotional intelligence, AI robotics, HR analytics, because we need to prepare the workforce. Remember, these machines have to be managed by humans. There is the science bit of it and the art bit of it. And the art bit of it needs to be handled by humans. And we can coexist. We need the machines. They fast track the services. And that's why I'm saying in any situation, we need to embrace ourselves for change. But what I can assure you is that as we lose, I think around June, we estimate about 96 million jobs will become redundant come 2025.
96 million jobs.
But we'll still
that
have,
is worldwide.
Yeah, but we have equivalent to it coming up. We just talked about the AI, creativity, social influencers, because you've seen people handling different tasks. So the underlying issue and the bottom line I want to mention is that, yes, AI robotics is here with us, but humans are the key drivers on that. Because remember, we can even make a decision not to form them, but we need them because we need an economy to run, we need to upscale, and for us it's just to keep up with the skills and continue upskilling as these things evolve around us.
You're talking about 100 million jobs, becoming redundant in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now. And a lot of these jobs that will become redundant are jobs that would not require human intervention, at a greater level. But when you look at the workforce that is likely to be rendered redundant, this is a workforce that is not prepared or is not well capacitated in terms of current working styles. So what is the role of human resource in ensuring that these people are well guided and they are well capacitated to face tomorrow's work demand?
Currently, we're saying the human resource practitioners are the kings in the boardrooms. And the reason why we're saying that is that we're the ones looking at these trends, and we are the ones advising the board and even the hiring managers and supervisors on what's next. And that's now where you have to do investments. Because remember, for even the business to run, you will need these people. As you declare some positions redundant, you need to move them somewhere else and keep on upskilling them through the trainings and the innovations that come up. Because we need to start thinking about the long-term impact of this. And that's why for any HR professionals out there, we are no longer about pushing papers. We have to think through, we have to be creative, we have to be innovative to support the different industries we work with. It's not about the technical team anymore. It's about the human resource and what can you do, what are the policies you can put in place, and what are the trainings you can recommend following the trends. Because you have a business to run, you have a business to recruit for, and you have to do, because right now it's not about the influence you have. It's about how humane can you get in all this, and how sincere can you get in all this in ensuring that you're keeping up with the trends, rather than sitting back and acting like you don't know. A lot of data is out there to help you prepare your workforce for
you have to interact with that data.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
We want now to cross over to the city of Mombasa and of course get to hear the people down there what they are saying in terms of how COVID has disrupted their workplace and of course their jobs. And Michael Mwandiga is our coast correspondent. He's ready to talk to some of the people there. I can see you there. Mombasa is looking absolutely beautiful with the sunshine out there. It's very cold here in Nairobi, but hey, we're getting used to this. So Mwandiga, what do you want to tell us in regard to the topic that we are having this morning?
Well, good morning to you, O'Brien. You are coming to you live from Mombasa County and joining you in this great conversation of the job market and what really the employer wants. And I'm joined by youths in the streets of Mombasa who will tell me the challenges they are facing when they're looking for employment opportunities in this big or the vast job market. And welcome in, please. What is your name? And tell us the challenges the youth are facing while looking for these job opportunities, kindly. Face the camera.
Thank you very much. My name is Andrew Hinga. I'm a youth in Mombasa County. I think one of the challenges that the youth are facing, especially guys who graduate or fresh graduates from campus, is the proverbial lack of opportunity. Let me start by saying the proverbial lack of opportunity. A guy graduates, applies to multiple organizations and companies, but for some reason, one reason or the other, the guy is qualified and something, but he does not get an opportunity to either do meaningful work or get something like a meaningful internship or training program in all the companies that the guy has all the companies that the guy has applied for meaningful employment or training. Number two, I think, is inadequacy in skill. Most of the youth you find, they leave campus. For some reason, the guy is inadequate in the skills that he gained in campus. When he finds internships, some of which are unpaid, some of which are government sponsored, the guy is like, no, I want a 6-figure salary immediately. Yet the guy does not have the adequate experience or the adequate skills that would entitle him to earn the kind of salary that he's demanding. So the skill levels is very inadequate, and yet they do not want to undertake skill-based training in organizations that offer them internships, that offer them training. Some are unpaid, some are paying stipend just to offer you the opportunity to gain skills and relevant experience. Number three, I think there's a gap in the transition from campus life, which is now probably most of it is theoretical, especially in universities and technical vocational institutions, to now professional work. I think the ministry should come up with guidelines that will help, especially the final year students, to make a smooth transition and give them a transitional process that will help them transit from the school-based training, which is impacting the skill, to now getting professional work. Because you find there's a very big disconnect once they come from school and they're looking for professional employment or looking to start their professional work in future.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. That's, of course, Andrew Hinga with that insight. And I'm also joined with another youth here. I will just put into perspective all these challenges they are facing. Karibu sana kaka, and tell us challenges the youth are facing. You as a youth, just give us your insight.
My name is Suleiman Khatib, and I think one of the main challenges is the redundancy in the choices youth members take during their choices of careers. Due to lack of enough career advisors, we find that many youth choose the same skills, the same career paths, and end up in the job markets that are not marketable. Yes, and another point is that many employers would seek unrealistic expectations and job experiences from these youth who freshly graduated from university. It is not fair to them and really oppresses them when they're continuing their career paths. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, and that, of course, is their insight with regard with the issue in discussion on job market. And just a few days ago, I was attending one of the mentorship programs, and some of the emerging issues which were coming up with regards to youth and employment. There's what you call the emerging trends in social media. Of course, nowadays many use on social media, but instead of using the social media just to build on their profile and the expertise and the professionalism, most of them we find during the job applications, some of the things which are emerging is the use maybe of the email, some of the email addresses, they have those slang words. So a very serious employer looking for for someone to employ, but here comes a CV, but along that CV, the email address, of course, just shows that maybe that person is not that serious on that job market. So these are some of the issues, and the youth should take into account the use of social media in a very professional way, just to make sure they be very to make sure that they get opportunities in this very competitive job market. That's all we have from Mombasa County. And back to you, Brian Kimani.
Michael, thank you so very much indeed. It's always an absolute pleasure, having you from the streets of Mombasa, and of course, discussing issues around jobs and the future of jobs. And as we are talking about job this morning, allow me now to give you some very interesting statistics that were just released in October last year by the World Economic Forum. And according to the forum, about 85 million people are likely to lose their jobs in the next 5 years because of automation, robots and artificial intelligence is likely to take over about 85 million jobs in the next 5 years. But in the same breath, about 95 million jobs are likely to be created by through robotics and artificial intelligence, and of course big data. And the question is this: what are we doing as a country to prepare our people for the next 5 years? Because look, every year the country releases about 1 million people looking for jobs, and so you're talking about 5 million jobs in the next 5 years. So what are we doing to prepare the 5 million jobs in the coming 5 years to get into robotics, to get into artificial intelligence? That is the big question that we should be asking ourselves as a country. But you were talking about HR being the queens and kings of boardroom. So as an institute, how are you upscaling, the discussion and the training around robotics and data analytics to become more relevant in the next 5 years?
Thank you so much. So when it comes to the HR analytics, it comes from two angles. The first is, how can it help you run your business better, especially now that you're doing hybrid, some working from anywhere, others working from the office. And having said that, is that through those analytics, you make informed decisions on the trainings. And now this is where you come in. As an institute, we cannot do everything, and we need the industry, we need the academias, we need them to refresh, because we want to change this practice of, if I go to the Nairobi University, the same syllabus which was used 20 years ago is the same one that I'm going to be trained on right now. The world has moved, and we must move with it, and the professionals have a very big role to play in that. It's not just about HR. We have different professionals, and all of them have to partner into this and ensure that they're keeping up with the trends. And I'm glad we've just heard from people in Mombasa, there is a huge potential which is not tapped to capacity in the coast region, and that's the blue economy. How are we preparing for the youth? Because we've had conferences around that. We brought people together, but now how we cash in on that? Mm-hmm. And that's what we need creativity around. And the message I always send is that do not sit. Jobs will not come to you. You have to create them. And the best way to create is seize the moment, come up with the ideas, and start implementing, and the rest will follow suit. Mm-hmm. That I can assure you. And if you look at anyone who has been an entrepreneur, because right now we need to change the perspective of being an employee. You need to be helping your employer, and you have to have the mindset of an entrepreneur, regardless of the industry you're working in. Mm-hmm. And that's how we move together, mm-hmm, as a country. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see, according to the World Economic Forum, by the year 2025, 43% of current jobs, will be shared between robots and human beings. So, as a profession, how are you well prepared, to handle this transition? And of course, how are you going to manage robots?
Yeah. So, they say change is difficult. And I have told you, these robots are creations of humans, because we've seen the need for it. And by managing, when you have a very good way of change management and training people, because the advantage we have over the machines and the robotics is that sometimes you have to sit back and think. That is something we are more advantageous when it comes to the machines, because the machine you just instruct and that is what it says. The famous words we used when we had computers first was garbage in, garbage out. So what you feed into those robotics is what you get out. How you do it matters, and how you handle it matters. And that's why I talked about the science of it and the art of it. And we have to balance the same. Because I remember when we were talking about the resilience bit of the humans and even the employees' well-being, because you need to prepare people mentally for that. Because I don't want any sector or even any profession, especially the HR, to make the assumption that everyone is okay the way things are changing. You have to prepare people for the changes, and it starts with the duty of care. And telling them that if you're doing 100% of this, now you're going to do 50% to this level of effort, and the rest will be done by machine. And this is how we'll bring the two together. So it's no longer about the competition. It's about the ecosystem and coexisting together to deliver.
In the world today, there are almost 3.7 billion people in the labor market. And according to statistics, from the World Economic Forum, 50% of this workforce will need to be reskilled, by the year 2025 or thereabouts. And so this requires significant amount of resources. And are companies prepared, for this disruption that is coming in the next 4 or 5 years?
So that's what I would like to call positive disruption, because for you to continue growing in the industry, you must be willing to invest. That's why in every industry, you have the research and development unit. You have to keep up with the change, and you have to invest, because remember, you're not investing and making loss in it. There is always profit out of it. You've mentioned the same jobs that we will lose, more than that will come into the market. And the good thing is that it's not an individual responsibility. Different sectors are pulling resources, and the best way to do that is that they don't see themselves as competition, but come together as collaborators, one ecosystem, and start looking into the future and seeing what can we do together and what can we do separately, and even share the responsibility of this industry will focus on this, this industry will focus on this, and we will all prosper together. Because remember, we are all interlinked in terms of, we talked about the tourism industry linked to the transport industry. So we are all dependent to each other. And when I talk about the human resource professionals, because they are the foundations of any organizations, we are the ones who are hiring. And it's no longer about just the technical skills. We're talking about even the soft skills bit of it. Because how reliable are you as an individual? Your communication skills, how are you willing to be upskilled? Because remember, I'll be willing to teach you, to train you so that you can unlearn and relearn. But if you're not putting the effort there, it becomes difficult. And that's now where we come back to now analyzing the data. Why are some people moving faster than the others, and how can we ensure that everyone is moving on the same speed, or even give more attention to the ones who are lagging behind? And at some point, organizations will have to make a decision and separate people depending on who is good at what, and you do through job evaluations and who fits where.
You see, there is an aspect that you've brought on board here, and this is on research and development, R&D, and that is the future of organizations. I mean, any organization that is not investing, or even any country that is not investing in R&D, I mean, your future remains so shaky. But when you look at, for example, the Kenyan scenario, even our national investment in R&D is barely 3%, of our national GDP. And so a lot of companies, especially here in Kenya, we are yet to embrace the concept of R&D. So as an institute, how are you helping companies to deepen their investment and their capacity in R&D?
Since July last year, we've visited several counties, and we've had interactions with both private and public sector at county levels and some private, including learning institutions. And the message we're trying to give them as an institution is that that is the way to go. We need to reskill right now, because the beauty of this country is that, and as I say this, some people may think that it's far-fetched. If we organize ourselves, if we look into what we have, we can increase our GDP, because, and it comes down to what we've just talked about, research and development. We have several donors who are willing to invest in that, but what's in it for them, and how are you going to implement on what comes out of it? Because no one wants to have an elephant project somewhere that they've invested in it and it's just seated somewhere. And I am a strong believer on implementations and impacts. We could be doing the research, volumes of notebooks, but we don't see the results through implementing the same. Because if we've said this is where the future is going, we need to be emotionally intelligent. How are we doing that? Are we introducing it as a course in schools? Are the training institutions teaching? Even at our institute level, are we preparing? Even in the workplace, is the training department investing in that? Because we want people who can bring solutions to problems and are willing to take the risk for it. Mm-hmm. And that is the direction we should all be taking, rather than having 8-to-5 job and waiting for the check, because everyone's satisfaction should come from what have I contributed today differently to where I work.
There are skills that will not be needed as we head into the future. And you still have a situation whereby learning institutions are still encouraging learners, to embrace and to go into these courses, knowingly or unknowingly that some of these courses, some of these skills will not be needed in the next 5-10 years. So what is your intervention at this point?
So as professional bodies, not just IHRM, we have different ones, ISPA, KISIM and all that. And even through the Commission of University Education, we really need to intervene. And discussions should be going on right now on what are those courses. I know there's some universities who have scrapped some courses. One of the positions that comes to mind that will not be needed as we go into the future is an office manager. Because if we automate everything now, what are you managing? Because people have come up with different ways of archiving things, sharing from different locations. Self-management is something key. So those are some of the roles that we may not be needing. So are we still teaching short courses around office management? So can we quickly move that into more on the digital bit of it? Because we're talking about digitization of data and how we do that. Because remember, even data protection, as you go online, then we also need to see the security within this country. How can you prevent your systems not to be hacked? And what do we have strong policies around such issues? Because it's not about just putting things automated, but it's about ensuring the protection of the same. So quick reskilling, because, and I believe if you went to school, you should be ready to take up another skill as it comes, and you keep up with the trends. Yeah.
This is what we're calling, being flexible, and having a mind that is ready to learn. There's somebody who is asking me, and you're saying you're Beatrice, at Beatrice in Corner, you're saying, you're asking me, so how do you, it is the work of human resource, to ensure there is enhanced productivity, at workplace, by ensuring that you hire the right people and, they are given the right job descriptions and so much. But how do you gauge, the performance of people, the productivity of people who are working remotely?
Good. Thank you. And that's what I talked about in terms of policy formulations on how do we gauge people who are working remotely. And it comes back to the tasks. If you are assigned tasks and it has timelines, because remember you have the KPIs, and we're looking at how are we going to measure that and what is the impact expected. It becomes your responsibility now as an individual. And another skill that will be highly required is people who can self-manage, self-driven individuals, because your targets have been set 6 months, they're going to be reviewed, mid-review, and you will be gauged against that. So it comes back to documentation. Do you have clear understanding?
But Kuresha, hold on to your thoughts, because you see, when you look at this country, I mean, it's proper to say that, internet is now widespread. I mean, a lot of areas, you can access network, you can access internet. You're talking about a coverage of almost 85%, internet coverage in Kenya, but you still have the 15% where network is not very stable. But yet you're expected to work from home. So how then do you deal with these kind of employees, who are in the 15% that is not well covered by internet in this country?
Thank you for saying. Actually come from the region where part of it, the internet, forget about the internet, you will not even get a mobile coverage. And
this is Garissa.
This is where now you get realistic. And when I talk about realistic, where are our most jobs where internet is accessible? Because also, as much as we want to be devil's advocate, we have to also remember that the different regions we work with, the locations we work with, the accessibility of internet, it's there. Maybe how I will phrase that question is that, yes, you've given me targets, but have you also ensured that I have the access to the internet ensure that I work? Definitely, the government needs to invest in those infrastructure to ensure that that inequity is not there anymore. And it's possible. We have massive resources in this country to make that possible.
Very good.
With the right mindset.
Kuresha, I mean, we could go on and on and on. This is a very interesting discussion, because we're talking about managing employees, managing workforce, managing productivity. But in the interest of time, we have to come to the end, because right now we're going to another very important and critical meeting. Otherwise, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.
Welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed. You have been watching BizCheck live from Broadcasting House, and our conversation has been around managing human resource. But now time to shift gears and talk about food and agriculture. I mean, agriculture and food, as well as food nutrition. We take you to the AGRF convention that has been taking place in the last 3 days, where thought leaders and political leaders have been converging and discussing about the future of agriculture, the future of food and nutrition, and what is needed to revolutionize agriculture, not only in Kenya, but around Africa. Otherwise, my name is O'Brien. Thank you for your time. Enjoy AGRF.
They said, put down the pens and pick up. To do what? To do what? Let me tell you, the future is in our hands. So at this point, you'll notice the regalia that they were wearing. A bit of similarity with the next person I'm about to call. Please join me in welcoming C.A. Sanyaga. She's the Chief Administrative Secretary at the Ministry of Agriculture for Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives. And just recently, 29th July, got appointed to the Global 4H Network Board. So please, congratulations and karibu.
Thank you, George. Thank you, George. Dr. Agnes Kalibata, the President of AGRA, Honorable Rosemary Babazi, Minister for Youth in Rwanda, Honorable Yao Ado, Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture in Ghana, Excellencies, 4K and Young Farmer Club members, school patrons, distinguished guests, fellow youth, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First and foremost, let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the organizers, partners and stakeholders for the AGRF Youth Town Hall session. This is a clear indication that the youth actually matter for us to be able to have this segment to talk about children and youth and their involvement in agriculture. This opportunity gives us a point of learning to exchange the ideas that we may have as a continent, to learn from each other, and to see what we can be able to collectively coordinate and implement for the betterment of our continent. A few issues really hinder children and youth from actively engaging in the agriculture sector. Issues such as negative attitude towards agriculture, lack of affordable financing, inadequate skills, knowledge, information, and knowledge. And these are just among some of the challenges that the youth and children face that hinder them from actively engaging in the agricultural sector. As we discuss about the food systems and as we have this conversation and continuous dialogues, we must be very deliberate to see how we can then engage our children, impact them with the knowledge, and give them the policy direction and strategies that they may need to forge a better future for themselves and their future generations. Recently, in June this year, His Excellency the President and the patron to all the agricultural clubs, the school-based agricultural clubs in the country, that is the 4K clubs and the young farmer clubs, he launched the clubs, the activities of these particular clubs, the revamped 4K clubs in June this year. And one of the things that the clubs seek to do is to start engaging the modern day child, teaching them the realities that we live in today so that they can be better prepared for the future. I almost shed tears when I heard them say the words that they were saying, but that is what we want to hear, not only them talk about, but also all children throughout the African continent. Because if we collaborate and if we coordinate all these efforts towards giving them a space where they can be able to contribute to environmental conservation, get the knowledge of food production, why food is important, how they need to, the process of production, how they conserve the environment for the survival of the agricultural sector and the survival of the species. These are discussions that we need to bring to these young people and teach them the realities that we are living in today. So this really gives me this actually reassures me as a person to see that my grandchildren, and my children, if this is continued and replicated across the continent, these children will have a better future. I say this because when I look at the environment, the one that we are enjoying today, the environment, I would say, is what is more of an inherited resource. We found the environment, our grandparents had taken care of the environment in their time, and we continue to enjoy the careful calculations or the careful actions that they did to maintain our environment. And that one gives us a responsibility as leaders, as parents, and as critical people in the sector to be able to give children the same avenue and the same platform to start taking care of the environment so that then they can also leave the same environment to their children when their time comes. So these kind of deliberate investments for the future generations is what we want to see, and our hope is to see this replicated all over the continent. Of course, our major key focus areas in terms of the thematic areas that we'll be focusing on in the revamped 4K clubs that His Excellency the President recently launched will be environmental conservation, as I mentioned. We also have the civic engagement and citizenship. We also have agricultural projects. This one's cut across crop production, livestock, and also fisheries. We also have STEM, that is technologies, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And we are saying that our children, even as we TikTok, as we do those things we do on Instagram, we can also have specific aspects that are quite agricultural that can stimulate how we think and how we overall make a contribution. We also have the healthy living and nutrition pillar, where you're not only teaching children how to produce, but also teaching them how to consume, how to prepare food and consume the food. Again, all these are along the 5 thematic areas that we are focusing on, and we are saying that the children will be given the leeway to choose the activities along those specific value chains as they wish. As adults, we do not dictate to the child, we just give the children the guidance for them to be able to self-actualize. As I close, let me mention that we are quite privileged that Kenya is now sitting at the global board. We have about 83 independent country-led programs in terms of the school-based agricultural programs across the globe. And Kenya and Liberia are currently sitting. We were appointed, we were actually confirmed on Tuesday this week to sit at the global board. We have Latin and Caribbean also sitting. We have 5 continents sitting at the global board, a representation of Kenya and Liberia, as I mentioned, in Africa. We also have the Latin and the Caribbean. We also have Europe. We have Asia, and we also have North America. And one of the things that really excites me about this kind of contribution of being appointed to the globe as Africa is to be able now to also take advantage of the resources that the countries that have done it better. How can we tap into the knowledge resource and also be able to improve on our programming from what has already been done? Of course, I am very happy to see what His Excellency the President has done in championing the 4K clubs and the young farmer clubs and also other initiatives for youth who are out of school. So once we give that level of profiling for these clubs and also borrowing from what the President has done and have other leaders, other African leaders do the same for the children, I believe that is what will give us the collective achievement of engaging the children and making sure that they are well prepared for the future. Mine is really, as I close, to just make an appeal to have every critical stakeholder, to have this forum draw lessons and also draw commitments to have all of us to be able to replicate these efforts across the globe so that we can have the children empowered. We can also have activities where the environment is being taken care of. Our children, no one should go to bed hungry with the kind of knowledge that our children have. We just need to tap it well and direct them to go in the right direction. I want to most sincerely thank each and everyone for being attentive, and may God bless us all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We'd like at this point, of course, to please just another warm round of applause, because Kenya is the region's only representative within the global board. So please, a warm round of applause for that. Now, the young people might know. Let me go to, who else didn't I ask a question? The young people know. Sir, hi sir. You're actually seated next to 3 future leaders. Do we know the meaning of 4K? Yes. Just whisper, just whisper. First of all, you're doing better than him. I can promise you that. Wait, you're not exactly. Please, do we know the meaning of 4K?
No.
Okay. How do you feel so far? You feel great, don't you? You know the meaning, don't you? Okay. Those are 2. So in the room, 2 out of every 3 people that are not in the youth bracket do not know what 4K means. But 10 out of 10 of the young people know. Quick maths. Let's ask someone else. Do we know the meaning of 4K?
Yeah.
Yes. Another one. 3 out of 4 do not know the meaning of 4K. No, let me not ask the AGRF team. That would, if they do not get it, that will not be good for the event. Do we know the meaning?
Yeah, kuungana kufanya kusaidia Kenya.
Close, close. If you were in school, like the others here, you would get a 70. So the meaning is, please, all together, the people, not the ones who did not get it, the people in front, what is the meaning of 4K? Fantastic. Please. Please have that in mind in 2022. When you're trying to vote, please. Let's understand that the future is really clear. right? And that's acronym for everyone joining remotely. That's the acronym for, it's in Swahili, and it basically means kuungana, coming together, kufanya, doing, kusaidia is helping Kenya. Just exactly what the president has been doing over the last couple of months, also understanding that he's been requested by other countries to showcase how his government, through agriculture and the youth in agriculture, can also push for prosperity of the country, right? Let's move to another country where about a third of the population are between the ages of 15 to 34. Can anyone guess which country this is? Rwanda. There we go. Joining us now remotely is Honorable Rosemary Mbabazi, the Minister for Youth and Culture in Rwanda, to give us the opening remarks, and then we'll get to the interactive session with some of the young people.
Good morning. Thank you very much, moderator. Dr. Agnes Karibata, the chairperson of AGRF, honorable ministers present, and youth in Kenya and in Africa. Good morning, good afternoon. I believe it's in afternoon in Kenya and East African time, but it's also in the morning in Rwanda, or it's coming to afternoon. It's my pleasure and honor to participate in this important Africa Green Revolution Forum, AGRF Summit Youth Town Hall, discussing pathways to recovery and resilient food system. I thank you very much, AGRF, for organizing this great important forum. And I also appreciate the way it is structured, very engaging young people. I believe we are going to learn a lot, learn and share from each other the great key milestones countries have achieved in making sure that youth are part and parcel of the food security systems. Probably more discussions will come in later, as you rightly said. I thank you, and I'm happy to join you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We have a few questions from across the continent. Our first one is from Ms. Ifi Umuna, co-founder and co-CEO of ICT and Programs for Nourishing Africa, coming all the way from Nigeria. Our question is about empowering a new generation in the food system. Ifi?
Good morning, Honorable Minister. I'm Ifi Umuna, the co-CEO of Nourishing Africa, a home for agri-food entrepreneurs, particularly young entrepreneurs across Africa. Rwanda has successfully provided an enabling environment for young agripreneurs to grow. How have you been able to do so, and what steps needs to be taken for other countries to emulate this for their youth? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ifi, for that wonderful question. And I think it's a question for all of us. The first part of how Rwanda is providing an enabling environment is much more what I will focus on. But the other part of what other countries can learn, it will depend on countries. But I will share a few insights that we can all learn, because we are still on the journey. We haven't achieved it all. Just want to also mention that under the leadership of His Excellency Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, agriculture has been the key sector that has been absorbing more than 70% of our population and has made remarkable progress. The production of various crops on a market-oriented scale has gradually increased, which subsequently augmented rural income as main element in the sector value chain. But if I want to focus on what you have asked, what kind of enabling environment that Rwanda has put in place for the young people to be engaged in agriculture, but also in other sectors, I would say the main driver of all this is to have our development more sustainable and also have inclusive growth. Rwanda, like the moderator, George has mentioned, where 3/3 of our population is young people, over 70%, like most African countries, are below 30 years of age. Rwanda is a young nation. So why youth? It's because we want to leverage and tap into the youthful numbers. That number is very important. If you don't focus on such numbers, I don't know if you can be sustainable, and I don't know if you can be inclusive in our growth. So the power of the youth number is very key. And we look at young people's numbers as a key asset rather than a liability. Also, we look at the characteristics of young people, their agility, their flexibility, their ability to adapt, their responsiveness, and the will to impact communities. And also we look at the risk aversiveness of young people, their innovations, all these factors put together combined, they necessitate the creation of a conducive environment to have a sustainable future and inclusive growth in Rwanda. Of course, Rwanda has registered remarkable growth and development, but this is not enough. We are not where we want to be. We have put this, I want to craft all this into 4 Ps for you to remember. Even for the K Club there, I see you're very well dressed. I want to invite you to Rwanda. Probably we can learn a lot from you and also share what we have achieved so far. I want to focus and say, as a response, as government, the government deliberately engages young people to immensely get involved as the next generation farmers, producers, sellers, and agribusinessmen and women that will drive our shared vision. The policymakers have also urged young people to invest in agriculture, and allow me to quote His Excellency Paul Kagame, the President of Rwanda, when he addressed this similar forum in September 2018. I quote, "We require a rapid shift in the mindset of our young people towards agriculture as a career choice. With the knowledge and technology available today, there has never been a better time for young Africans to get involved in agriculture and agribusiness as they create wealth and well-being for the society as a whole." I end the quote. So leveraging on this political will, the government of Rwanda has set up youth platforms like Youth Young Agribusiness Forum, Rwanda Youth Agribusiness Forum, called RIAF in acronym, and other youth graduates from academia willing to invest and be part of modern agriculture, mostly in horticulture. Different programs were also put in place to mobilize and support youth in this sector. I want to focus on the 4 Ps that I mentioned earlier, and I'll be giving examples of how we have been engaging the young people in this sector. Probably the countries could share also their experiences, those present in this platform. The first one that I mentioned earlier, the first P, is the political will. It is very deliberate. We involve youth in decision making, have active participation in all policies that we are making and decision making. If you come to Rwanda, we have, during December time, we have what we call Inama y'Umushyikirano, or the national dialogue, where the president speaks to all citizens and have their input in decisions that we are making as a nation. Over 3,000 young people participate every year. While adults, as adults, we participate when you're only 500. And you have 3,000 young people meeting. Before COVID came, COVID-19, we used to meet physically, but now we're meeting, we do that virtually, but connecting young people in a specific location, and we involve them. So there's a political will, there's a deliberate effort to do this. It can't do itself, but we need to provide this. That is in a bid to create an enabling environment. That is political will. The second one is policy. The policies that we do are deliberately supporting young people, providing incentives. We know most of the challenge that the young people have is access to finance. Rwanda is not a huge country, but we always try also to look at how do we provide access to land, and also agricultural inputs, and also providing skills that are needed for the young people in this field. I think I want also to reiterate what my previous speaker said, Ms. Anne Nyaga, I think. She talked about the mindset of young people looking at agriculture as a rural phenomenon, looking at agriculture for illiterate or people who have not gone to school. But food security is very important, as political security is needed as well. So providing incentives for young people, providing platform where they can exchange ideas for mindset shift and civic engagement. Policies are very important, not only to be documented, but also to be implemented. The third P, besides political will, policy, the third P is programs. We have to make sure that we accompany the policies with specific programs that make sure that we achieve what we want to achieve. One of the examples I want to highlight is Youth Connect, which is a program now as scaled on the continent. Now Youth Connect is in 21 countries on the continent. We identify the innovations of young people that have created impact in the societies, in the communities. And this program of Youth Connect, we award them, we give them financial support, technical support, and we accompany them for mentorship. So 70% of the project we have supported out of 800 and more in agribusiness. The second program that I want to highlight, almost similar to four clubs, is Eco Brigade. In Rwanda, we have a program which is called Ecological Brigade. It's a brigade of young people in ecological conservation or conservation of the environment. We have more than 10,000 young people in ecological Eco Brigade, which is Ecological Brigade. And these young people do terraces, they plant trees, but also we associate them or link them with big projects in agriculture, big projects in environment conservation, and they earn a living, especially rural youth. So they do these projects and get income on a daily basis. But also we add on component of saving, and 30% of the revenue they get out of these agricultural programs or projects in the rural areas or environmental conservation. For example, the catchment area of Nyabarongo River that feeds into Akagera and the Nile. We have many young people that are already working in that in those projects. They save 30% of their revenue incomes on a daily basis that they earn on a daily basis. And we support the income project that they have created. Most of the time, projects run for 3 years to 5 years. And when they save, we support the project that they provide or they come up with when the project is over or when their project is still running, to ensure that they don't go back to poverty. Instead, they use that project as a stepping stone to grow and expand and provide jobs to others. Other project that we have is youth mainstreaming. We got the Ministry of Infrastructure. What projects do you have? How much jobs are you going to create? How can we link in youth? What kind of skills do you need? What kind of environment do you need? So we work together in agriculture, in environment, in infrastructure, in construction, in ICT, as well as Made in Rwanda promotion, especially in e-commerce businesses. The fourth P, if you remember, there's political will, there's policy, programs. The fourth is partnership. We need partners on board. We can't make it without having all partners, including the young people who are the key partners that we have. As I conclude, the full involvement of youth in agriculture will directly contribute to availability, accessibility, affordability, and food safety for all, and eventually contribute to job creation by reducing the number of youth involved in subsistence farming, which is a developmental challenge in most of our countries. Allow me to take this opportunity to extend once again my appreciation to the leadership of AGRF for your tireless efforts in organizing this forum, but most important, your dedication to youth empowerment. Last but not least, on behalf of the organizing team, when I meet the young people, I can't forget mentioning this. I want to invite you, allow me to invite you to join the government of Ghana, which is hosting Youth Connect Africa Summit this October, 20th, 22nd of October in Accra. I thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to hearing more of your development initiatives and innovations that as government we're happy to support. I thank you once again, and over to you, George.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We just have, yes, please. Very well broken down. We really appreciate that. We just have one more question from Mr. Alois Nezimana from the Pan-African Movement in Rwanda. Alois, over to you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. My name is Alois Nezimana. I'm a member of Pan-African Movement and also the CEO of Feel Africa Limited. My question concerns the Continental Free Trade Area that has been adopted, which even its activities are meant to start by 2021. So my question is, Honorable Minister, what are the structures, strategies, and the mechanisms that the government of Rwanda is putting in place to ensure that younger people maximally benefit from the continental trade area? Thank you.
Good to see you, Alois, once again. Good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I've expected a question from elsewhere, not from you just in the neighborhood, but it's good to know. Thank you very much for the great question that you have asked. I think it's very pertinent for the young people to take advantage of all the platforms that the government of the United Africa are putting together, or the African Union is putting together to benefit for trade, but also for transfer of goods and services. Your question is very pertinent, especially that we're talking about right now. It's being implemented, and it was also signed in Rwanda, in Kigali, and now being ratified. This protocol is being ratified by many African countries. One of the biggest continental bloc that we have, business bloc that is going to help to make it easy.
I'm at home.
Oh my God. To make it easy for business to flow. One of the challenges we have as Africa on this front is intra-Africa trade. We have more trade with other continents.
Oh, okay, I'm in the youth town hall.
May I ask Miss Amanda to please mute? Let me do the job of the moderator. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I was speaking about the structures and system and strategies that are in place to ensure that the young people benefit from this big business block that we're creating, or the business environment that we're providing. I was saying that one of the challenges Africans we have is the intra-trade. The flow of businesses within our countries and goods and services is more limited within ourselves than as it is done with us and other continents. And our leaders, the main objective is to make sure that we create seamless flow of trade and businesses within Africa. And that's the rationale for having the CFTA. And I also want to build on why we are having this, the Youth Connect Africa Summit in Ghana, is where the Continental Free Trade Area is best. Actually, its headquarters or the secretariat is best in Ghana. And the theme of the discussion for this forum is going to be focusing on how do we unlock opportunities to benefit or to leapfrog or to benefit more from this continental free trade area that our leaders are creating. So we don't want to have this in discussions, in papers. We want it into action. So one of the strategies that we're creating is provide information. There's opportunity that we have. In DRC, there are opportunities. How do you create a cross-border trade? Right now, we are in discussion. The young people from Rwanda and the young people from DRC Congo is already discussing on how can we create a cross-border trade. If in the other side of the block or the continent, the country, it needs more agribusiness products. And for us, we need, or maybe some other ICT or related or tourism. How do we work together to provide and create needs, but also service the need of other countries based on young people's needs and what they want to do business together? It's in the same spirit that you would see that as an opportunity for the African continent, but particularly countries, to create information, provide information of opportunities that exist. The other element that I want to talk about is removing barriers, non-tariff barriers, and also other tariff barriers that might be available between countries. It might be easy to flow your goods to out of Africa than to trade within Africa because there are many non-tariff barriers. So what countries are doing is ensure that there's seamless flow of goods and services within countries in the neighborhood. And this is also in the spirit of making sure that we buy our own. That is promoting made in Africa. We buy more from within Africa than buying elsewhere. But that means also our businesses should be competitive. Our businesses should be providing good quality products that are competitive. It's not just an offer. It's not a favor we're doing for businesses. It should be related or in line with the quality and also the price that are affordable. So there are many systems that are in place, but mostly political-wise, or in the political level, there's a lot of will of all other countries, all these countries, to ensure that we provide the enabling environment for the young people to benefit from continental free trade area. Last but not least, in this framework of working with countries that are hosting Youth Connect Africa, that is going to happen in Ghana, we are going to go with our young people in what we call Youth Connect Caravan. Caravan is when we take our young people in agribusiness, mostly in ICT, in Made in Rwanda, in environmental conservation. We are going to go with them in Ghana in October for them to see the opportunity to interact with colleagues, to engage with colleagues, but also identify opportunities that they can engage after. We've done the Youth Connect Caravan in 2018. We brought our young people to Kenya. They went to Naivasha. They went to different parts of Kenya to identify opportunities and work with colleagues in the country, and also receive them in 2019 when they came for Youth Connect Africa Summit. So these platforms that we provide, this environment that we provide, these are policies that are putting in place to ensure that young people, you tap into that and you take advantage. I think the moderator was saying, the future belongs to you. So this is your time, this is your opportunity. I thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. It's nice to know that as agriculture is one of the most important platforms for income generation, food security, of course, and productivity, countries such as Rwanda are really making sure that that is at the center stage, even as they move forward, and the young people are now close to that. Honorable Minister, please enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sure if you'd like, you could as well just continue listening in. Let's now move from East Africa, go all the way to Ghana. Ghana also has a lot of support within the same industry. They have something called the 4H clubs. Honorable Minister is right there. So they have something called the 4H clubs that supports, of course, the rural youth, as has been mentioned in Rwanda as well. Over 5,000 people between the age of 10 and 25. And we'll hear from the Honorable Deputy Minister just now. So to give us his opening remarks before we get into the interactive session, Honorable Yao Frimpong Ado, Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture in Ghana, responsible for crops. Honorable Minister, over to you. You're muted. Kindly unmute, Honorable Minister.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, absolutely.
Good. Thank you so much. And my regards to everybody there, all the ministers of agriculture in Africa who are on this program as I speak right now. I greet everybody. And the youth, the future of our continent. I greet everybody. Greetings from our President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and our minister who has been taken away from the office. He was very, very optimistic that he was going to be here, but somehow he has been called to duty elsewhere in the northern part of the country. So I greet you all, and I bring good felicitations from Ghana, and I hope that in the course of our discussions, issues about the youth in agriculture in Ghana will be highlighted so that the youth around the continent will also come on board with us in every country they find themselves to be active participants in the agricultural revolution as is happening in Ghana. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Honorable Minister. We have a few questions for you. Just two. One is from Mr. Kofi Kisiedu Akwai from YPAD Africa, who's the coordinator there. Kofi?
Thank you, Georgie. Good morning, Honorable Minister.
Good morning.
I'm Kofi Akwai, Africa Coordinator for the Young Professionals for Agricultural Development. And we are a movement that empowers youth to shape sustainable food systems. We have seen in countries like Tunisia that they increased their turnovers by over $2 million USD within a year of implementing the Youth Startup Act. So my question to you, Honorable Minister, is how would the government leverage research to drive such systemic approaches for youth to thrive in agribusiness? And this is very important for me because I'm also in Ghana with you, Honorable Minister.
Good. Thank you so much for having special interest in the youth in agriculture in Ghana. And if you have been following our programs of the Planting for Food and Jobs, I think the greater emphasis is on the how the youth can have special interest in agriculture, the component we call youth in agriculture. And we are doing this through the flagship program of Planting for Food and Jobs. It's a component that says that emphasizes on agri-business. The youth in every district have been encouraged over the years to register with the Secretariat, that is the Directorate of Agriculture, to take active part in this Planting for Food and Jobs. And the essence of the Planting for Food and Jobs, looking at the food chain from production to the table. That is where the emphasis is, so that the youth must position themselves within this food chain, that wide spectrum of the food chain, whether at the production level or in between, the marketing, processing, and then even taking the foods to the various homes. These are all opportunities that are open to the youth. And Kofi, there's this other interesting aspect of our program. If you have heard of it, the CARES program, the Obatampa program, where the emphasis is going to be laid on youth participation in agriculture. We want the youth to take up this challenge, and the chunk of the 100 billion Ghana cedis is going to go into agriculture, especially agribusiness. And then the youth must position themselves in such a way that they take full advantage of this Obatampa CARES project, which is seeking to provide the resources, because most of the complaints that they give us when we ask them to take agriculture as a business is how are we going to get the funding. And then the government has now instituted this Obatampa program, which is going to be rolled out this year and then subsequent years, so that the youth, once they come together, they can take advantage of the availability of the funding, and then also develop their talents either in marketing or whichever field that they find themselves, so they can end hunger within the food system. If the youth take advantage of this Obatampa or the Ghana Cares project, they can really advance the cause of the youth in agriculture, especially the agribusiness components of the Planting for Food and Jobs. So Kofi, my office is open. Please come over one of these days. Let's discuss I know how passionate you are about youth development in this country, so we can see the way forward for the youth. Thank you.
Thank you. It's not every day you hear minister or government saying it's an open door policy. You can come in, walk in at whatever point. So it's definitely nice to hear that, and also to hear that a chunk of the Ghanaian budget is going to agribusiness. So that's really encouraging of you, Honorable Minister. We have just one more question from Sharon Olang, who's a member of the CSO network within the Lake region here in Kenya. Sharon?
Thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity. To Honorable Yao Ado, I've had the initiatives that you have in place, the Obatampa program. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And I've also heard about the 4H Club, which I really like, because it nurtures young people to get into agribusiness, but also preparing them to start their initiatives. So other than those two initiatives, what are the other initiatives that support youth participation that you really feel proud of at this point?
Yes, there is a component of the Planting for Food and Jobs, which is our flagship program for agriculture. It's a revolution, kind of agricultural revolution in this country. It's the greenhouse farming. The greenhouse farming is where the youth are being encouraged to go into vegetable production. We have set up large greenhouse farming sites in 3 sections of this country. The one at the coast, we have one at Dawenya, and then we have one at Bodjase, and one in the middle part of the country, Akumadan. And these sites have been prepared specifically so that the youth can take advantage of it. Because you see, when you encourage the youth to go into agriculture, these days, the youth, the get rich quick aspects of life is in the youth right now. And where they can get rich quick without sweat, it is this greenhouse agriculture, where the facilities have been put there. And interestingly, about 125 youth, as we speak right now, some of them are in Israel, learning about the technology. The total number sent to Israel to undertake paid internship. This is paid internship. The youth, they finished School of Agriculture in our various universities. About 190 of them are, as we speak right now, in Israel. So far, about 537 of the youth have been trained in this area we call greenhouse technology development, vegetable production. And we have selected some sites strategically, the middle belts and then the coastal belts, for these youth to take advantage of this initiative. For me, this is where I will encourage the youth of this country to go into. And the private sector is also being encouraged to set up some of these youth, the technology, greenhouse technology centers around the country, so that the youth within those sectors of our country can go there, take advantage of the facilities provided. Because it's not something that can be done everywhere. So we have selected sites that you go there. Maybe a group, youth group can go there, take one of such greenhouses, and then you say you are going to plant vegetables, specifically targeting some markets, especially if we are going to take advantage of Ghana being the headquarters of the African Free Trade, Continental Free Trade area. Then the youth must take full advantage, because the market is going to be there. You see, 1.2 billion population of Africa, and if we have this technology here, and then the youth, some have been trained, and they will serve as the resource persons. So you come together, you form a group, and then you go into vegetable farming. 3-4 times a year, you'll be selling your produce locally and internationally. And this is something we are trying to encourage the youth in this country to take full advantage of, because it is available. We've started.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Before I let you go, are you ready for Youth Connect?
Very ready. Very, very ready.
Perfect. Say no more. We appreciate your time. At this point, we'd like to call a few youth here to just speak within the AGRF 2021 summit. So we appreciate your time and you joining us to just give us insight on what's happening in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Right, now we have a few youth from across the continent and across the region that have a call to action for 2030. Of course, we're saying that young people have a message well within these food systems, all these hard words that we've been saying, net zero, climate, agriculture, and we need to hear what exactly is on their mind. First, we have Ms. Dorcas Omole, youth in agriculture from Nigeria. Dorcas?
Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's afternoon over in East Africa. We are still in the morning here in West Africa. My name is Dorcas Omole. I'm a research fellow with the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, and I also co-founded Enable Agrimen, an initiative that advocates for more women participation in Africa. So my call to action for policymakers, especially in developing countries, is to create young rural women's access to education and to incorporate agricultural skills into rural education more generally. In addition, we need to amend the Land Use Act to make transfer of land to young rural women more unproblematic and to create enabling environments by creating loans to assist youths and women in acquiring land, while leasing agreements through youths to gain access to land. By creating an enabling environment generally, it will be very vital in increasing the youth's involvement in the agricultural sector and ultimately addressing the significant untapped potential of this sizable and growing demographic, especially in the developing countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dorcas. Of course, maybe for a lot of people that are also listening in, a lot of this will be channeled now to the policymakers, and we'll have a lot of structured questions even later on today with the President. So these are some of the things that you will see embedded into the future of agriculture for the continent. So thank you for that call to action. Next, we have Mr. Alois Nezimana from the Pan-Africa Movement. We had Alois before, but Alois, it's over to you. Did we lose Alois? It's coming on? Okay. Alois, there's a chance.
Yes.
All right, please.
Hello, I think I introduced myself, so I want to go immediately to my call for action today. My call for action today, first of all, as you might know, in the last 2 decades, youth ambition is to get in agribusiness really increased so significantly. But we are still having challenges whereby youth are not really getting access to land, or they don't even own the land. Therefore, my call for action is to call upon policymakers, member states, African member states, to formulate policies that really could allow youth to have easy access to land. I also call upon African member states to adopt boundaryless access to land for young people, whereby young people can do agricultural activities in any nation of Africa, regardless of his or her origin. Because as young people, yes, we do recognize that we are citizens of our nations, but also we have on our heart that we are force of Africa. Lastly, but not least, I would like to call upon all stakeholders to really promote youth products to best market, to international market, either local or international, but whereby the prices are really best, because this can benefit young people and help them to scale up. That's my call for action today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alois. We'll have that noted down. Next up, we have Mr. Mike Kunga, a global youth advocate for nutrition and the vice chair of the UN Food System Summit Action, Track 5, joining us all the way from Malawi. Mike?
Thanks so much, moderator. My name has already been introduced, and I really thanks so much for this conversation. Very key and very brilliant for young people. I was actually amazed by Madame Rosemary from Rwanda talking about the 4 Ps, which are really, really critical for African youth to leverage on. And I would really appreciate if Madame can share this across African countries. So what I want really to focus now is, we have talked a lot in terms of how our programs are designed to reflect on young people. But how much time do we really engage in terms of working with young people? For instance, the policies which we develop, how much time do we really focus in terms of young people, in terms of the policy development and even the strategies? This is quite very necessary, because as these programs or the policies will be rolling out, we need young people to be able to be champion of this. At the same time, also, I want to reflect on the African free trade agreements. Let me emphasize that this trade is very opportunity for young people. And as African leaders, we need to make sure that young people get exposed, not even within our countries, but even in the international countries, for them to benefit from this agreement. So on particularly on this agreement, I will really want African leaders to think of innovative ideas in terms of how young people can be empowered and how young people can produce very healthy product, nutritious product for market and also for their own benefit. At the same time, let me also focus on how do we engage the indigenous youth. Most of the time when we talk of youth programs or youth projects or working with youth, we work with youth at national level. But how do we engage the marginalized youth in the rural communities, bring them together, champion them so that they should be able to get exposed and also benefit from agriculture as well as all the aspects of their life. This is what I wanted to share. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks as well to you, Mike. We'd like to just move on along. You'll notice that the time has, we were supposed to finish a lot later, but that we've really done well with time. Next up, we have a familiar face. You've just seen her, Sharon Olang, a member of the CSO network within the Lake region. Sharon.
Thank you very much once more. So my name is Sharon Olang. I'm a member of the Lake Region CSO network based in Kisumu, Kenya. I'm also an agripreneur focusing on poultry farming for the poultry products and indigenous vegetables. Recently, I started working with young people within my rural community. So I pass on the poultry, I pass on the vegetable skills, I pass on every other agricultural skill to young people within my community to ensure they're able to pick up that practice of producing within their backyard. My call today is around different countries, different partners coming together to adopt young farmers clubs in the basic education system and in extension in their communities. Because as much as we practice agriculture within the school system, this has to go back to our communities. How do we support the young people to carry this on to their communities? So that is what I'm championing. This would encourage young people to take up agriculture at an early age beyond their school system into their communities and learn better farm and home practices. And further, this will contribute towards better nutrition, health, and higher standards of living. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. So please, a warm round of applause for the first four. Fantastic call to action. Of course, you'll see all of that using the hashtag AGRF 2021. There are a lot of highlights on Twitter. At this point, we have someone physically here, Joseph Madenge from the G-Star Youth Group and advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and also a farmer into banana production. So, Joseph, please. It's a very uncommon practice to look better than the moderator.
Sorry.
All right.
Thank you. So, good morning, guys. My name is Joseph Madenge. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and I'm also a founder of G-Star Youth Group, a group that engages itself in banana flour production. You can hear me, yeah? So first of all, I'll say that it's an honor to be invited here and to finally meet Dr. Agnes Karibata in person. My call to action today is to the government. Today, actually, the Honorable Minister for Rwanda just called us the future. But currently, we are the current leaders. We are the current leaders of this country, Africa, and the world. We are the people on the ground, and I'd actually ask the government, please involve us in policy making, in policy decisions, because the only way that you can get our mind is having us on the table. The only way you can get the young people to drive this country, Africa, and the world in agriculture is having them and listening to them and involving them in every step of the way. So my call to action today, why involve the youth at the last tail end of in implementing policies? Why not involve them in when coming up with a policy, doing the background check, coming up with a policy, and actually implementing the policy? Currently, the problem the youths that are facing is access to the market. Because we do have inputs. The policies by the government are there, but are the policies workable to us? I'd say no, the policies are not working for us because the policies are not made by us, and I'd ask African governments, please involve the youth in coming up with the policies and actually in enforcement of those policies. Thank you so much. That would be my call to action. Asanteni sana.
Right, so I've been informed it's all right, we can leave with an early end to the event because later on we'll have the presidential session and we can ask as many questions as possible, of course within reason during that time. We'll be joined by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, so that should be particularly interesting. The last person that we have today is Lucy Wangari, the CEO of Onion Doctor, to give us her last remarks, last call to action, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It's such an honor to be addressing all of you here. And I am a youthful farmer. I am the founder of Onion Doctor. And as the name suggests, I probably have produced what you eat every day. That is an onion. I'm also a youth who is an ambassador for agriculture, and my call for action would be for us to reintroduce the training centers that we once had for agriculture so that we may be able to bring these new concepts closer to home. If it's issues to do with hydroponics, can we have the training centers, the ones that we had when we were kids? They used to be there where we would go, see the shows and see people doing hydroponics, see people do greenhouse irrigation. Let's bring these concepts closer to home because some of us may have access to them because either of aggression or just chances that we have, but there are some people who have access to land and other things, and just seeing those things closer home, they may be able to uptake them more, and also will create more employment for the people in the rural areas, and also chances of training, learning, and passing the information from one person to the next. That is my call for action. Goodbye.
Great. So before we leave, since we already have CS Anyaga here, who's gladly given us a bit more time to just speak to her, there's one thing that has not quite been built on, which is youth and innovation. When you think of agriculture right now, let me just ask you, since you've been a star player in the class, when you think of agriculture, what first comes to mind? Not as a 4K club member, but as a youth. Farming. What comes to mind when you think of farm and agriculture? What would you like to do? What would you use to plant them? Okay. Drones? Drones maybe. What else? What kind of technology would you like to use on your farm?
Machinery.
Machinery. Yeah. What kind of machinery? Oh, now the mic has come. What would you like to use on your farm? Use the mic.
Okay. That's the question again.
What kind of technology do you think you would love to use on your farm?
Like
no, there's no such thing as a wrong answer.
Technology on the farm.
Yes. Drones, like he said.
Yes, maybe I can.
All right, so we'll get the guidance from the minister, and then after that we can chat about what kind of technology we can take over. If you have a farm, this is the best time to now listen in, right? Or if you plan on having a farm.
Yes.
So I'll sit here with you, we'll take all the notes, and then we can hear what kind of digital innovation we can, within the next year or a few years, right? Yeah. That works? That works? Yeah. Okay. Please. Oh, he had an answer. He had an answer. He's telling them they should have. Here you go.
Sprinklers.
Sorry?
Sprinklers.
Sprinklers.
Yeah.
See? Bright future.
Thank you. I think much has been spoken by the previous speakers, but just to emphasize as requested and also as brought forth by my colleagues, first and foremost, we can't really ignore the role of technology and innovations in the agricultural sector. From where we look at it, when we see challenges in the agricultural sector, as young people, what we need to gear towards is looking for solutions, because in looking for solutions, that is how you start creating an employment for yourself or ourselves. In terms of the digital aspect or the innovation, of course, where we are talking about mechanization, we are talking about, a bit of a connection between the modern way of doing things and also the traditional, because we can't really discard of all these kind of approaches. We need to find an intermediary way of going about our approaches in production. But the issue of innovation is an issue that we are really focusing on. We have developed programs which we are actually implementing in all the 47 counties as we speak. There's one program and a program called KSAP, where particularly we have called for innovations, where we are saying disruptive ideas, targeting innovations around the youth, so that we can get the submissions of those innovations and see how we can then scale them up. Of course, we've seen youth coming up with the innovations such as those ones for mapping, the precision farming. We've also seen the intelligence, where you're picking an app, trying to look at the disease that is in a particular, or a pest that is in a particular crop, and being able to give digital kind of solutions. So these are innovations that we are saying, if they are there, they need to be scaled up and of course supported. We already have some policies within government that can be able to support the youth to scale up. Again, if you are youth and you have those innovations, just come to the ministry as well. We have a discussion, we give you a platform where you're able to showcase your innovation for the upscale to the counties and also to the farmers, because you'll find in most cases farmers are looking for some of these digitized kind of solutions for uptake and also for quick solving of the challenges. The other thing which also is quite critical to mention for my young brothers and sisters here, as we said, we are making deliberate efforts as government to be able to introduce the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics component in the 4K clubs and young farmers clubs programming, so that technology aspects, innovations are infused in terms of critical thinking when our children are young, so that once they are moving from the primary school level, they go to high school, they're advancing in terms of age and also in terms of how they understand things. So again, introducing them to these very basic aspects, and then as they transition, getting them to evolve in their kind of thinking. Again, it is very critical, even as we dialogue, to see how do we transition our child to the primary school level through the 4K clubs, and then we go to the high school level through the young farmer clubs, and then once they leave these institutions, then automatically they will be very able to engage in the agricultural sector as a career option, not just as a choice, as an activity of the last resort. So that transition, deliberate programming throughout these critical stages is what we are advocating for. Just maybe just to answer to what one of my colleagues, the advocate, talked about in terms of government involving young people in policy making. And I would say right now the government really has an open door policy where we already have young people who are also put in government as of last year to also be able to champion some of the challenges that the youth are facing. And I can really attest such that when we are developing policies, we have been having very elaborate processes in terms of consultations with the youth at the county level, because we don't also sit down and assume that these challenges are as we see them in boardrooms. We actually go to the field and of course find ways of collecting their views, and then we come up and devise a policy mechanism. Again, my advice also and also my encouragement is let us also form youth associations, so that in the agricultural sector, these ones will help the government to be able to consult in a structured manner and see how we can review existing policies for the benefit of our youth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would love for all of us to give a warm round of applause to our honorable ministers, Honorable Anne Nyaga, Honorable Yao Frimpong-Ado from Ghana, and of course, Honorable Rosemary Mbabazi from Rwanda. There's one group of people that we don't normally acknowledge, but given how today has gone and how we've switched from different countries to the room, please Let's give a warm round of applause to the technical team, please. We have the Presidential Youth Town Hall at about 3 p.m. East African time. A very interesting session where we'll have President Uhuru Kenyatta join us to discuss some of the pertinent issues that youth across the continent and in Kenya, of course being based here, are facing, and how we can now replicate that across the border. I appreciate all of you for joining in, giving us your attention, all the young people for engaging me when I asked you the questions, my future investors and partners in farming. I really appreciate all of you. I'll see you a bit later on during the day. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Emperor Yingzong ascended the throne at a young age.
Empress Mother Sun attended to state affairs.
You've got an opportunity to be the emperor. I'm willing to help you take the throne. Are you in or are you not?
Yingzong listened to the words of eunuch Wang Zhen and became quite discontented with her.
She can't just do what she wants.
I'm doing this for your own good.
Wang Zhen was afraid it would affect his own position and ordered assassins to kill Prince Chen before his arrival at the capital.
Good evening, this is KBC Channel 1 Easy Friday. My name is Shiksha Arora, and guess who's back?
My name is John Kago. Right here on KBC Channel 1. Now, every Friday we bring you up to date on the news that's shaping up within and without our borders, the John Kago way.
We also bring to you the latest interviews that touch on arts, entertainment, music, social matters, right here, the Shiksha Arora way. So join us every Friday at 9 p.m.
on Easy Friday, right here on KBC Channel 1. See you then.